Thank you so much for joining us. I am joined by three of our incredible customers, all of whom are Asana ambassadors, one of whom was lucky enough to get a sneak peek of AI teammates as part of the beta. Adam, do you want to kick us off with just quick intros?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me today, Lauren. My name is Adam Lazada. I am the Community Manager and Agency Operations Specialist at AMSIF. AMSIF is a full-service performance marketing agency based out of here in New York, so if anybody needs any marketing help, let us know. We'll be here all day. But I spend most of my day looking at our internal processes and operations and finding the best way to make those things work a lot smoother for the teams that use them.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Lisa.
I'm Lisa Good. I'm the Director of Client Solutions and also Operations Lead at Brand Networks. So we're a technology company. We create marketing technology for brands, empowering employee influencers and also small businesses with like media buying and things like that.
My name is Mike Glidden. I'm a 3D project manager at Living Spaces Furniture. I manage the 3D model production as well as the interactive web tools.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Really excited to have you here. I imagine the audience is eager to hear all of the tips and tricks that you have on how they can drive value with AI-powered workflows. So let's dive in. It's no secret that there is a lot of hype around AI. Employees and organizations are facing a lot of pressure to learn the technology, implement it, scale it. As a result, a lot of organizations have jumped into AI pilots as a way to test that. What we've seen through our research by the Work Innovation Lab is that there's actually a huge adoption gap despite all of this excitement about the technology. 67% of organizations have failed to scale AI beyond that initial pilot. And I think often one of the most exciting parts about this is that all of you, AI creators, are the ones who have the power to really fix that and help move beyond that pilot. You are the ones who are hands-on, experimenting with this technology, figuring out how you can embed it in the flow of work and how you can really transform the way the work gets done. One of the first steps is to identify automation opportunities. And I'd love to start by asking you, Adam, let's start with you on this one. How do you think about identifying the processes that are best to automate with AI?
Yeah, when I think about AI, it's such a crazy technology, and there's so many places to start. It's really difficult to understand, like, where are we going to start hone in, and where can we put these processes in. So at AMSIF, we kind of have three different models and ways that we do this. The first is pretty straightforward, is looking at the data. So for an agency, people are tracking their time in Asana. We're looking at which tasks are taking the most time, which task most people are using, because if everyone is using that task, it's probably not a specific skill set. It's probably a repetitive task and somewhere where you can work into an AI workflow or an automation. After that, something cool that we did this summer and we're going to continue on doing is we actually sent out a survey to our teams to understand, sometimes the data doesn't actually align with how the people are feeling. So we wanted to ask them, where do you think that the most time in your week is going? Where do you think the biggest drains on your time are? And trying to understand where they think that an automation or a workflow AI tool could help. And then actually the last is we're using Asana to solve for that. So we recently created our own AI project in Asana with its form so that the teams could submit their requests. So we kind of open sourced it to say, you guys are in the trenches, you're doing the work. Where in your process would you like to see a workflow? And we're not going to, put all our resources towards every one, but it allows you to start to see trends of people requesting things. And it also gives you that, it's kind of the idea, right? Like, there's no bad questions. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking it, probably somebody else is too. So we can start to see this and build on it and say, okay, maybe that's someplace we didn't even think about, but could have big outreaching, ramifications. So that's how we're approaching it.
Yeah, I think that's so smart to think about it from the quantitative angle, the qualitative angle, make sure you're hearing directly from the users. Absolutely. Lisa, I know we've talked a lot about how you think about kind of taking everything that Adam has shared and also zooming out and how it applies to higher level processes and goals. So do you want to share a little bit of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, first, Adam did inspire me to then actually do a survey with our department within our company, because that is just such a great way to really get a feel for how your company is feeling about like what is a daunting task or what's time consuming. But yeah, when it comes to zooming out, it's interesting. Just right here a moment ago, the panel was talking about this as well. that it's really important that you zoom out and understand like what your goals as an organization are, because you might have some processes in place or tasks in place that of course you could insert AI into that. But if you zoom out and say, well, this is actually our goal, maybe we can eliminate these tasks or these certain processes and within that system. So again, thinking in systems, maybe we can eliminate and cut things down and get to the same outcome, a better outcome. So really kind of thinking about that high value, high impact work, I think is the most important, but it does require zooming out a little bit to kind of understand what the goal is and how you could potentially get there using AI workflows that maybe might look a little different than just inserting AI into a current process.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so crucial in making sure that it will serve a purpose in your organization. You're not just inserting AI for the sake of using AI. I also think it ties really nicely into the next topic I wanted to talk about, which is, you know, increasing adoption. Once you've identified automation opportunities, you've implemented that, then you need to start thinking about, okay, how can we get more people at our company to use it? What we've seen in our research is that 36% of IT leaders have said that they're really missing out on real business value due to a lack of training. So, Lisa, I'd love to start with you on this one. How does your approach to AI education and training differ now from previous technology rollouts?
Yeah, it is so different. I think anyone who's attempted to do this as well and try to teach some different folks at your companies or within your departments or teams, it's really hard because it's not just follow this new process documentation or we're now using this technology, reference this, document if you have any questions. You're really asking people to think differently, and so a mindset shift into not just doing their work, but thinking about how they're doing their work while they're doing their work. So almost creating a sense of increased critical thinking among employees to really think about why they're doing what they're doing, so that they can find those unique opportunities to use AI workflows and AI teammates, which I'm so excited about. But that mindset shift, it's hard. It's hard to change the way that people think and invite them to engage with their work in a different way that will hopefully yield better results. So it is really difficult to do that piece, but it's the most impactful because that's where you're really changing how people are thinking, which is fundamentally what's going to produce the best AI workflows, the best work just in general. If you can train your team to become better critical thinkers, that's not just going to benefit with Asana AI, that's going to benefit your company altogether. So it really does come down to training the people and how they're thinking about their work.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I know we've all talked a lot about this idea of the mindset shift. Adam, you've had some creative ways that you've gone about navigating that mindset shift. Do you want to share a couple of those?
Yeah, I think Lisa hit it right on the head. That it's not about like our previous change management tools we've used. Of, this is the input, this is your output. Because with AI, you can put the same inputs in. Everybody in this room could do it, and you're going to get a different output. So it's about changing the mindset to get rid of the stigmas behind AI that it's going to take over your job and replace everybody, and that it doesn't work. And it's changing them to be, how can I manage this? It's almost teaching everybody to be the AI's manager and manage that AI and work with it and kind of sculpt what those outputs are going to be. And then I think kind of one of the bigger things there too is that stigma around AI and breaking it when you're changing the mindset culturally. And at AMSWIFT we have done something really cool, and it's these, we call them an AI showcase. So we do them once a month. And it's a little different than maybe some other places. We don't want our power users up there showing what they're doing. We don't want the executive committee dictating to people what we're going to do. You need that structure. But what we do is we're finding people who are in the work and have found a creative way to do it, and we're celebrating them. We had somebody on our SEO team who found a creative way to take these long roadmaps they build in Excel files and with the AI, get them to create tasks and descriptions and subtasks and assign things out almost instantly. And when we have them on these showcases celebrating them, one, it creates this kind of, I want to be curious, I want to be celebrated and feel this, but it also creates FOMO with everybody else who's on there. Everybody else is watching this and saying, wait a minute, I do that every day. I don't want to spend hours doing that. I want that. How do I get that? Teach me how to do it. And so you kind of shift this mindset away from like, oh, I don't want to learn that or that's scary, to like, oh, I see somebody who does the same thing I do and is able to do it faster. I want it. And it really creates this curiosity and adoption that you can't get when you're just telling somebody to do it.
Completely. FOMO is a powerful emotion. Figure out how to harness
Yeah.
it. That's a key to success. And I think, as we think about this mindset shift, sometimes it can feel daunting. It can feel like a big undertaking. Mike, I know we've talked a lot about the value of starting small, and you've had some great examples of how you've seen success with that. Do you want to share one?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, it's something that for most of us in this room, it's really exciting, right? But for most of us or some of us that are not in this room, it's overwhelming. It's daunting. It's a little scary. So starting small, it doesn't necessarily mean to be. It doesn't need to be something that's a throwaway task. But for example, I use email summaries as my kind of intro to AI for a lot of my teammates, human teammates. So we'll do just a quick summary of your email or your notes, and it kind of shows them exactly what it is that this tool can do, other than putting hats on your dog in images. And one of the other things that I did, so at Living Spaces, we work with a lot of interior designers, and they have a lot of mood boards, they have a lot of ideas, they have a lot of design decks, and so that's a lot of documentation that has a lot of different SKUs and a lot of different descriptions. And someone came to me and said, I'm spending a lot of time on, sifting through all of these documents to find everything. And I said, so why don't we just switch that over to AI Studio and have AI do it for us? And so I created this kind of little bot that essentially every time a designer would upload a mood board, it knew to scan that, pull out all the SKUs, and drop them into subtasks. And so what that created was a searchable database within that project for all those SKUs. So you no longer had to sift through for hours, looking for these kind of things. And it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel, it's just finding something that is simple and saves a lot of time.
Yeah. And starting small is such a good example of how you can build that confidence and that curiosity bit by bit in a really organic way. I also think as we think about this experimentation phase, failure is a part of growth. Mistakes are going to happen, and I think we can all learn from each other along the way. So, Adam, I'd love to start with you. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen people and organizations make when trying to scale AI, and how do you think other teams can avoid those pitfalls?
Sure. I think there's one big pitfall that I've heard across a lot of my friends and colleagues and seen in different companies is this idea, again, the stigma that AI is just going to take everyone's job right away. And when we're going to put AI in, we're going to cut jobs and we're going to cut down costs and we're going to put it in and it's going to take over everything and do it right away. That's not the way it works right now. Like we said earlier, it's about training people and you have to be the manager for this AI. So I think one of the biggest pitfalls is kind of, like I was saying there, is not starting too big and saying, we're just going to put this in and it's going to take care of the workflow from start to finish. Mm-hmm. It's more about where can we understand this workflow and really understand where can we put in the work, the AI automations to help us and improve, not just take over.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so crucial. Lisa, I know you have some thoughts on this too, so I'd like
Yeah. I think one of the biggest pitfalls can be focusing too much on automation, while there is automation in AI workflows, and not really thinking about augmentation and how AI workflows and AI in general is supposed to level up us in terms of helping provide, it has the ability to look at all of this context, all of this information, synthesize it for us and give it to us at the right moment so that our outputs are better. So if someone is just looking at, okay, how do I automate? That is great and it is something necessary, but where you're really going to see that next level benefit is when you're looking at how is it augmenting what we're doing? How are we actually creating higher value impact work in general? But then another pitfall that I see is creating workflows that don't have a long shelf life. So that's really something to consider as you're creating those. One thing that we've talked about before, I've talked with these guys about it, is that you need to be comfortable with iterating on a process and experimentation, and not just hoping that the first time you do it, it's going to be successful, or getting really upset when that fails. So you do have to get comfortable with having that iteration, but also thinking if there is a component of this process that might change down the line. Say I always attach a PDF to this specific rule to reference best practices. But sometimes those best practices change or we need to update them. Now I have to figure out where I have that in certain rules and I need to go and update it. Instead, I've had instances where I have it reference a document that is on the project overview, like attached to the project itself. That way, if that ever changes and gets updated, I don't have to worry about updating those AI workflows because it's always referencing what's there. You could do the same thing with a Google Doc or something that as information changes on there, you don't necessarily have to update that rule every time. So really just thinking about the shelf life and along with that, kind of understanding how your workflows can be adaptable to those different processes. Maybe you've made something very specific to one client, but if you can actually zoom out a little bit farther, it can still work and apply across multiple clients, and now you don't have too many workflows in place. And then lastly, I do think that a pitfall can potentially be to think that everybody on your team is going to be the architects of AI workflows. We want everyone to be adopters, but not everyone is going to be an architect, and that's okay. So I think just understanding who within your organization as well can get that mindset, gets it right away. You maybe have maybe a couple trainings with them, and they're able to just go and create really great workflows is something you want to keep in mind, and of course build those skill sets. But I wouldn't have the expectation that every single person is going to be creating those because they might just be really great adopters and not necessarily architects.
I think that's a great distinction to draw. I also love the theme you brought up around augmentation. I think that's so core to this transition that we're all embarking on together. I also think that when we think about augmentation, the way we prove value is inherently very different in this new world because the way that we are working is different. And, proving that value is such a core piece of the puzzle. We've seen in our research that AI scalers, that is organizations that have fully integrated AI and continuously improve performance, see they're 2.4 times more likely to have formal processes for tracking ROI. That's both in terms of traditional metrics like efficiency gains, but also human-centered outcomes like employee experience. Mike, I've learned through my interactions with you, prepping for this, that you are an ROI expert. So I'd love to hear from you. How do you measure and communicate the ROI of your AI-powered workflows?
Sure, thanks. So as an early adopter in my company of both Asana and the AI tools, whether I wanted to or not, it kind of became my job to figure out what the ROI is here. And it's a challenging question because humans are humans. Everybody does everything at a different pace, right? So it could take me 5 minutes and somebody else 4 minutes. So one of the things that I did was I created a dashboard, and so every single time I had an AI Studio rule run, I would have it drop that information into a custom field, and additionally, I would have it drop it into a separate project where it was essentially my kind of bucket for all of the data. So every time it would run, it would do two different things. And with the data that I had in the bucket for managing the metrics, I would compare that against the estimations of essentially how long it would take to do that task for a human. And so over time, over days and weeks, months, quarters, you start to see, okay, well, the AI took 30 seconds to complete this task, whereas typically I spend 15 minutes. And when you're looking at that, as a single example, it's not that impressive, right? But when you look at how that compounds over time, and you look at it over the course of a quarter or an entire year, all of a sudden you're saving days and weeks. And so one of the other really cool things about what I've been doing is I've been fortunate enough to be on the beta for AI Teammates. And one of the things they're doing with that is they're actually building in an ROI tracker. And so it's going to show you every single time it runs, it's going to show you how many credits are being used, it's going to show you all of its thoughts, and it's going to give you an estimate of exactly how many human hours it typically takes someone to do a task just like that. So really excited about that.
I love how creative you've gotten as you've thought through all of that. I think it's just such helpful insights to hear. Adam, I know you also have a lot of insights into ROI tracking, so I'd love to hear from you too on this.
Yeah, well, I need to steal that teammate from Mike. But, as this technology continues to advance, being able to measure ROI is still changing and adapting. We're still figuring it out as well. So just like Mike, we are looking at task and looking at operational efficiency, right? Like, what did a task take? How long before? How long for a project to kick off? How to complete? And now what does it take? But I think for us too, we're really big on the idea of employee satisfaction and how these tools work with our team. I'm looking at the ROI there. Hopefully this doesn't get me kicked out, but previous to working here at AMSIF, I had a decade in hospitality working for Marriott and Orla Hilton, but it was one of the most important lessons I learned there was this idea that when you take care of your people, they take care of your guests. And that applies to every business, right? As, everybody has clients and customers, but when you take care of your team and they feel kind of what Lisa said earlier, that the tools you're giving them help them level up and make them better, and their day-to-day is more enjoyable, and they're not stressed about coming to work and having to do these mundane tasks, and they feel like all of the tools we give them actually like help them out, then they're happy to be at work. They're happy to come in. They want to work. They're producing better for your clients. Your clients are happy. They're coming back. So we're looking at it and trying to understand where all of these tools can be a metric when it comes to employee satisfaction, right? Like, it would be great to have all these productivity gains, but if everyone hates the tools we're putting in, doesn't want to come to work, and is just leaving, and then all the time we saved on the task, now we're recruiting, hiring, training, onboarding again, you wasted it all. Instead, because our people are so happy and they're staying in their roles and they're just growing and learning and creating more for these automations, there's your real gain. So we're really leveling up and getting an ROI when it comes to the employee side.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, at the end of the day, AI itself isn't the name of the game. It's that human plus AI collaboration, and how can you make sure that you are building the right structures around that to make sure that they actually enjoy using the technology and that it's driving value for them so they continue to use it. Absolutely. I also want to make sure that we're leaving our audience with some really actionable insights that they can, take today to help improve their workflows. So looking ahead, maybe the next year, what's one AI workflow capability or use case that you're most excited to explore? And Mike, we can start with you on this one.
Sure. I think you know what I'm going to say. It's teammates. Having been able to work with the team, by the way, Michael, Nick, if you're out there, thank you. Chris, for all of your help. It's really changing the way that I think about work. So it's not just intelligent, it's collaborative. One of the ways that I like to, or one of the examples I have is I do a lot of time tracking. So as a project manager, I get really granular. I want to know exactly how much time is happening between handoff, between one task starting and another finishing. And so I created this standard operating procedure for calculating the various tasks and milestones that I wanted to measure. So what I did was I wrote that, and then I submitted it. I sent it to this teammate and said, hey, what do you think about this? And it kind of came back with some interesting questions, some clarifying questions, and I ended up having this kind of back and forth conversation with this AI teammate. And it really was illuminating because I was finding things about my process that were inefficient, right? And so I ended up with probably version 5 or 6, and then I took that and I put it back in essentially as its core memory. And so once that was done, I let it loose on my, I want to say 150, 160 projects, and said, go do your job. And so it went and it did all these calculations, and unprompted, which is usually not a good thing, but in this case it was a good thing. Unprompted, it actually went back through and looked at historical data, and it found some errors that had been made in previous calculations. And instead of just going in and doing the new stuff, it looked at the old stuff, and it then asked me permission to make changes. And so I went through the math, and I said, okay, well, you know what? You're right. That was incorrect. And so it was kind of this surprising thing. And it was shocking, and I can't wait for all of you guys to be able to try this out as well.
I know, I'm jealous that you got an early sneak peek there. I mean, I guess I did too, but jealous on behalf of everyone. Lisa, do you want to share yours next?
Yeah, I think it's very similar. I'm excited about AI teammates. I'm excited to understand the difference of when you use AI teammates versus the AI workflows. Kind of want to dig into that for those use cases. But essentially, like I mentioned before, the two biggest benefits I think of AI in general is that it has access to so much information and it can give it to me at any given point and synthesize that and give historical context. So I'm really trying to think about what are the other areas where that would be beneficial when it's giving recommendations to clients, whether that's like a media recommendation or looking a data analyst, like creating those kinds of workflows paired with AI teammates and figuring out how we can just level up what we're providing to our clients is kind of the biggest area that I'm excited to dive into, especially with AI teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, what about you?
I'm going to throw something crazy out here and say AI teammates.
Was not expecting that.
How do
I promise
feel?
I didn't tell them to say this.
But honestly, we actually just got AI teammates turned on this morning. So as soon as we get out of here, I'll be geeking out and then playing around with those and seeing what we create. But really excited to see how we can use the AI to provide insights and, like you guys were saying, work with them and be a manager and a partner to our teams rather than just giving us, summaries and highlights and spitting out outputs, but working with us and kind of helping everyone, again, level up and work in a more efficient and better way.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what you all cook up with AI teammates now. I think it's going to be so many amazing use cases unlocked. So as we wrap up here, Lisa, let's start with you on this last one. What's one thing that surprised you during your AI implementation journey that you think others should know about?
I would say that training AI is super easy, or it feels that way to me, but training people is really, really hard. But it has the most impact. So, really just figuring out that, oh, it's not just sharing this thing that I'm so excited about. And I'm like, we have all these use cases we can use this for, and getting pumped about it, but actually instilling that in my team members, in the company as a whole to really show what the potential is and then to teach that. So that's kind of stretching a different muscle of mine as well while teaching other people to think about their work differently. So it's really hard to train people, but it has such a huge impact that it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, what about you?
So what surprised me the most was how quickly I failed and how often I failed. You really have to learn to fail fast, right? It's really just something that is so iterative. Like I said before, with the collaboration with AI teammates, it's something where if you're gonna go for it, you really have to go for it and put some time into it. It's gonna take it's gonna be like I said, an iterative process. So probably version 15, 20, 25 of my AI Studio rules are the best ones, right? And you want to share those successes, but you also want to share the missteps with your team, right? It's kind of this vulnerable place where we're all like, okay, well, I don't know how to do this. Do you know how to do this? I don't know how to do this. And so if you can share, like, yes, I am a human, and I messed up and it didn't work right, people are going to be a little bit more, interested in giving it a try. And so essentially what I'm getting at here is that if you put the time in, you will get that time back with interest.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Adam, last but not least, what did you find most surprising?
Yeah, honestly, I think it first was the shocking that not everybody felt the same way I did about AI and wanted and saw the value and was like geeking out to jump in and try every new tool available. But is just understanding that, again, the stigma around AI, that it's this, all-knowing, all-being, it's going to solve everything for you right out the box and do it right away and create all these efficiencies. And really understanding that AI creates this weird productivity paradox where, like, to everything you guys were saying, when you start with AI, it has such a learning curve of training the people who are using it and understanding how you can best, work with it, that it actually, unfortunately, is pretty unproductive at first because of all the iterations you have to have, because of all the times you have to fail and learn to do it again. And I think, when you look at those statistics, a lot of people don't understand that, and that's why you have all these failures, because they'll go in there and they'll throw it out right away and try to get it to work, and it doesn't, and the juice isn't worth the squeeze, and they'll just say, you know what, we can't do this, or it doesn't work, not for us. But it really is understanding that paradox and saying, okay, we know that it's going to take time, and once we put that time and energy into it and we get over the hill, then it's that rocket ship up and to the right? Like, and just that is what was surprising to me, and I think as we start to understand that, people will understand, just because you failed right out the gate doesn't mean it doesn't work or you can't use it. It's just a lot of, allocating the time and effort and understanding that it's going to take some time to then get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, Absolutely. Productivity paradox. I love that. I'm going to steal that. Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us today. You have shared so many incredible insights. We've covered a lot of ground. Please remember that this does not have to be the end of the conversation. Please go visit our community corner so you can learn from them, learn from each other. Please also visit our customer success bar. They can talk you through tips and tricks for how you can build AI-powered workflows specifically for your business needs. So thank you everyone for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day.